Hey y'all, my name is Kaitlynn, and I'm in the Internal Communications class, and I'm here to talk about the last four chapters that we've learned and just give you some background information on all of it. So first, chapter 5 starts out with language. Language, as you know, is important in everyday use. No matter if you have a hearing problem, a speaking problem, if you just have no problems at all, if you are blind, no matter who you are, language is so important. So first, the characteristics of language are that they're symbolic, rule-governed, and subjective. The book goes on to talk about how impactful language is. Like I said, like you use it every single day, and just one thing to think about is think about someone's name. If you say someone's name, that's their identity a lot of times. Your identity is matched with your name is matched with your identity. So it's huge. It's huge. It's also important that your language is clear. Um, for example, like some words have different meanings, so you need to know when to use the appropriate words and when not to, because a lot of times that can get crazy. So another thing is that the book discussed that I think is huge to tap on would be how language is so big in today's society with social media. What you say, how you say what you say can impact you. I know for basketball, a lot of kids that are being recruited to play at the next level, if they're sitting there cussing out their teammates or their coaches, chances are the college that's recruiting them is going to drop them. And it's just huge. It shows who you are as a person, and just in everything from a caption on an Instagram photo to a tweet when you're mad, or a Facebook status, or even a Snapchat. If you're saying the wrong things, then it really can affect you negatively. So next chapter would be chapter 6 in nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is defined as messages expressed by non-linguistic means. So this basically is just, the book says word for word, what we do often conveys more meaning than what we say. So the popular thing that we use to describe this would be actions speak louder than words. I'm sure you've heard that, and if you haven't, it's used all the time. It's huge, huge, huge that you pay attention to not only what you say, but how you say what you say and what you do when you are talking to someone. So some characteristics of nonverbal communication are all behavior has communicative value, even if we aren't aware of it. So a lot of times you don't even realize, like you might just have a bad look on your face, and someone takes it as like you do not want to be talking to them, or you don't agree with what they're saying, and sometimes you don't even realize it. So that's scary. Um, so always, always, always be aware of what you're saying and how you say what you say. So the next thing is, next characteristic would be nonverbal communication is primary, relational, and then the third that they have listed is nonverbal communication is ambiguous. So a good example that the book lists that I really, really, really can relate to and I liked was that think about silence from your companion. Think about if you go to dinner and go get dessert with your boyfriend or girlfriend or just a best friend of yours or a family member, and they're just being completely silent. Um, that could mean that they feel comfortable with you, that they're angry with you, or they're bored, they might be nervous. There's just so many different things that can come from it. Um, and so you just have to be aware of that. Another thing is a yawn. Um, a yawn can mean that you're bored or you're tired. If I'm having a conversation, say, with my sister and I'm yawning, she might think what I'm saying is completely boring, or it might just be that I had a long night and I'm tired. And I think that boredom, a lot of times when someone's talking, can be looked at as more negative. So you really, really need to be careful with your yawns. A fourth characteristic would be that it occurs in mediated messages. So huge example of this is emojis right now. So a lot of times people will type something or text something and they'll add an emoji at the end, and that can make or break the conversation. It can explain what the message means in different ways, and so that's something that's not words, but that can really affect how the conversation goes. The last characteristic they list is that nonverbal communication is influenced by culture and values, or in gender, my bad. So for example, most cultures, if you ask me a question and I nod my head up and down, that means yes. My answer to your question is yes. But a huge one that the book talks about is a thumbs up. So here in America, we would say thumbs up to good job or way to go or anything like that. Whereas in Germany, this means number one. In Japan, this means number five. So our nonverbal communication for five is this. And for other countries, it's this. You really need to pay attention to where you are. If you're traveling, this is a huge thing to look up is nonverbal communication. And then the book also states that in general, nonverbal communication is used more by females than males. Not to say that males can't, but they just say that females tend to smile more, touch others, and make more eye contact. So functions of nonverbal communication are creating and maintaining relationships, regulating interaction, influencing others, concealing and deceiving, and managing impressions. The one that I'm going to talk about a little bit more would be influencing others. Think about Donald Trump right now or any of the presidential campaigns. Nonverbal communication is huge. It's important to show respect while other candidates are talking, and if you're just rolling your eyes or if you're on your phone, something such as that can look really, really bad to the media, and the media will hype it up and can really affect someone negatively. So the types of nonverbal communication are body movement, and this can consist of anything such as what you do with your eyes, what the face you make, gestures or posture, touch, voice. And this voice to me was the one that I had to do a little bit more research and understand a little bit more, because to me, voice would be verbal communication, but in this, they talk about more as like your tone or your pitch, punctuation that you use. Those things are all effective. The next thing would be distance, whether you're standing close to someone or further away. It can show the other person how intimate you are with that person or not. Another one is time, physical attractiveness, clothing, and environment. So these are just some different types that you might not even realize are types of communication that are important. So next chapter would be chapter 7, listening. And listening is defined as the process of receiving and responding to others. And this is the book says that the most time devoted to communication activities is listening, and it's just over 50%. So it's a lot of attention that's put towards listening. So some listening styles are task-oriented listening, relational, analytical, and critical. There's lots of challenges faced with listening. So some examples would be that information overload, personal concerns, rapid thought, noise, and not everyone hears the same message. So the big one to me is noise. I mean, think about how many times your teacher's talking and there's an annoying buzzing noise going on in the class, or like they're doing construction outside. It's going to be harder to pay attention. So the next one would be the components of listening, which are hearing, attending, understanding, remembering, and responding. Obviously, if you don't respond, it gives a negative feel to the person who you're speaking with or listening to. So the different types, and this is in order from more reflective and less directive to less reflective and more directive. In order are silent listening, questioning, paraphrasing, emphasizing, supporting, analyzing, evaluating, and advising. And these are huge. You have to know who you're talking to and who you're listening to a lot of times to understand what type of listening they need. If they need someone who's supporting them, they need that. If they're really bad at giving details and explaining a situation, questioning method is huge, huge, huge for them. So chapter 8, that was chapter 7. Chapter 8, the last one, is emotions. Sorry I'm talking fast. I'm just trying to get through this. Try not to information overload you like we just talked about last chapter. So emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions and to be sensitive to others' feelings. I think its definition is huge because it describes not only your emotions but others as well, and you need to understand how others perceive your emotions. So the influence on emotional expression would be personality, culture, gender, social conventions and rules. Social media, again, like we talked about, is huge, huge, huge in today's society. And then emotional contingent. So this is described as the process by which emotions are transferred from one person to another. So that's another important thing that you need to understand that influences how your emotions are perceived. Guidelines for expressing emotions would be to recognize your feelings, choose the best language, share multiple feelings, recognize the difference between feelings and actings, accepting responsibility for your feelings. That to me is a big one that a lot of people mess up on. And then choosing the best time and place to express your feelings. It's important to manage your emotions, to understand if they're negative or positive, and if they're negative, do they really need to be negative? I think that's a huge, huge thing. And you also need to understand that a lot of emotions you can't control. So if you see if you have to meet with a stranger, if you're going to an interview and you don't know the person, that can be extremely stressful. It can make you nervous, and you just don't understand all that can affect you. So that's pretty much it. Sorry I had to go through that so quickly. It's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. If you have any questions about more specifics, anything you want to discuss, just let me know. I'm here to help you in any way I can. So I hope you learned a lot, and it's great talking to you. Have a good one. Bye.